Last time on 10 More Minutes, Sam
ranted about his teaching day, and he's not even halfway done. Find out now what happens this time on Celeste, part,
And we are back. Sam, you wanna
I don't even have an and with.
You don't need an and with, man.
And more stories of Sam devolving into madness.
Yeah.
So
what happened with your story? Yeah.
We left off with the principal escorting about 3 students out of the 25 or so 30 kids out of the class because she now needs to call their parents and deal with the repercussions for said children. Remember this later. There's a child.
My brain, it's melted.
Let's call this child. I can't use.
Are we gonna do Jimmy?
I can't use my. I can't use Jimmy. Let's call him
Jimmy 2. No.
Let's call him Chuck.
Chuck.
That's
a real cool name. Totally not a PE teacher.
Let's remember Chuck, boys and girls.
Oh.
So she takes Chuck and 2 other students out of the class. At this point, one student is refusing to leave. They won't leave. This child, while you would assume is a 4th grader, and most 4th graders, for those of you that haven't been in a classroom, in a 4th grade classroom, most 4th graders are pretty well behaved. They're a little bit rowdy, but
they're kids.
They're still kids.
Yeah.
It's fine. I'm okay with a little bit of rowdiness. They're children. They're allowed to be rowdy. This kid is acting like worse than a preschooler. I've dealt with kindergartners who are more well-behaved, rolling on the floor, running around, stealing things from other kids, just being the most obnoxious brat I've had to deal with in a long time. So, like I said, the principal has now left the room and is just me again.
Yeah.
Things are already starting to devolve into chaos, and now there's arguments breaking out with kids. Therefore, I have to call support again. Someone picks up saying, hey, I'm sorry, but things are getting bad again. They now send a noon supervisor. Noon supervisors are the people that watch the lunchroom and the playground and deal with the kids. They're
typically where most fights are going to be happening, right?
Most fights are.
Because it's outside of class, there's less teachers to dictate stuff.
If you've been in high school and people say, the narc's coming, that's a noon supervisor. Yeah. So if you've ever been in high school and people are like, oh, it's the narc, that's who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
This guy comes in burly.
Like how the 8th grades know who the narcs are. I didn't know narcs until high school.
I didn't know until high school either. But this is, like I said, 4th graders.
Yeah.
Comes in there, has to raise his voice, not berating, but bringing his.
He has to assert authority through volume.
And brings them in line.
God damn.
Now, they immediately quiet down, and I'm not a yelly sort of guy, so it's not really in my nature. I can do it, but this class isn't going to listen to me regardless. Sometimes it'll work, but it won't work in this situation. Substitutes have, unfortunately, that don't have that luxury of that authority working.
You don't have any experience. God, I'm messing up this jump. I don't know what dictates whether I'm
there's
jumping
no way
to the
to
side
gain that
or...
because they know there's no repercussions for it, like I said.
Yeah, you're not coming back tomorrow, probably.
So he raises his voice. He gets them to kind of fall in line, but then has to leave because, there's
got other duties.
Things that he has to do. Lunch is starting soon. He has to deal with that. He leaves. Starts getting bad again. Principal comes back for lunch. Has to stay in there for an hour. Now, I don't know about you, if you guys know anything. Principals have a lot of stuff to deal with. They don't just sit in their office and type things all day. No, they have meetings, emails, meetings. There's so much a principal does.
Meetings, emails, and meetings.
But like going around school,
I
dealing with like kids. There's so much that happens on a principal's day. Staying in one classroom throws off their schedule immensely. There's so much better things they should be doing, and I feel bad about this because the fact I've never had so much of a problem that I've had to have this level of support in a classroom. But eventually the principal...
It sounds like a freaking nightmare, man.
It really was.
You should see Sam's like body language right now. He's reliving it, and he's telling me like he's at like Alcoholics Anonymous. He's like, man, you don't even know.
You don't even know.
Like the troubles I've seen.
And eventually, the principal can't stay longer. She takes them to lunch, and once I get them back from lunch after she's escorted them to the lunchroom, she needs to go back to the district to finish her important meetings, probably about fiscal stuff that affects the entire school.
Yeah.
Because a lot of that stuff, there's so many meetings that principals have to attend, and they're not always on campus, which is usually why there's vice principals who stay there to deal with the day-to-day, and it's also 2 is better than 1.
Yeah.
It helps out a lot.
You spread stuff around.
God
dang it.
The district then sends in an assistant vice principal. Now, this school has been trying to hire one for a while, but they can't because usually these schools are tougher. You go to the more privileged schools, being a VP there versus being a VP at one of these schools is a lot easier. There's a lot more that you have to deal with as a teacher and as a VP working at these schools. It doesn't mean the kids are bad or anything. There's just more for you to deal with. There's more problems typically. So you're going through all of that shenanigans.
All the goofiness of the chillins.
And a separate vice principal who is a district hired gun, basically. Like, they're a retired vice principal.
Oops.
They're subbing around.
Like he called him a hired gun, like he's a noir, or she. She's a noir.
She was my mercenary. She was my saving grace.
She's one of those old cops. You know?
She's that old wise detective that helps you out on your first rookie case. Except for me, this is 4 years into teaching, and I've never had this kind of bullshit before.
Yeah.
And she comes in and she just kind of looks at me, introduces, shake hands, all that stuff, pleasantries, and she says, "Don't worry. This isn't on you." And immediately I feel a relief going, I knew this was bad. I didn't know this was this bad. She goes, no.
What do I do?
I've been here a couple times.
What the fuck am I supposed to do there?
In the last 2 weeks. So once it hits, you have to dash and hit to grab onto the block and then ride it out. You almost, you just missed it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So she was being a total boss about it. She was like, hell yeah, I got this.
She starts filling in for the teacher, but she also doesn't have as much authority. She has some, because she's already suspended. Let's call this child
Chuck 2.
Let's call this child Jose. Jose then has been mouthing off for the entire day. I'm simply asking him, hey man,
in 8th grade, or not 8th grade, in 4th grade, 8 years old.
8 years old.
Jeepers, man.
Mouthing off to me and a teacher. Oh, I forgot a good part too.
Oh, no.
So even before
Sam got super happy all of a sudden. So he's like, hey, I remembered how terrible shit was.
I remember how bad this was because at the beginning of the day, after that original first aid left, we had music. The music teacher came in and had a mental breakdown because the kids would not listen to her. She had to do the same thing that Mr. D did with telling the kids, like, hey, I need you guys to listen. Hey, let's do this thing. Usually music goes to a different classroom. She can't trust them in the music classroom anymore. They now have it in their class. They don't even get to use instruments.
This is their specific demon class.
You
should have brought in an old teacher and a young teacher, man.
I should have brought in an exorcist.
Well, that's the reference I'm making. Well, so, anyway, yes.
The music teacher at some point just says, I give up. I can't leave because I am contractually obligated to stay here till a set time.
Yeah.
But I'm not teaching anymore. I'm done. And I know this teacher because I've worked with her at multiple schools. She works fine with all the other kids. Not everyone likes her, but not everyone likes every teacher.
No, it was supposed to go up.
She's a fine individual. She gives up and she does the same look that I've been given all day with, I'm sorry.
You're fucked.
And she says, good luck. And I should know at this point, it's not going to get any better, but I'm an optimistic guy. So I think...
Yeah, I think everyone got that idea.
I've almost...
Why did I fucking go that way?
I've almost won every over class I've ever had. I've never had this level of problem. But let's get back to the present timeline. The assistant vice principal has now come in and is dealing with kids who are constantly talking back and not wanting to do what they're told. So now we have to call in parents. One child is refusing to even go to the office to be picked up. So we have to call his parent. Parent can't get there. They live in a faraway city.
That's pretty common.
So they're not picking up. They can't get there. Eventually we get a hold of...
Please. Please.
Nice job.
Yes.
So-
it's not over?
No, it's not. We eventually get a hold of his uncle. His uncle then comes, and eventually I get a phone call saying, hey, his uncle finally arrived. This is after dealing with the vice principal who's dealing with kids outside and kids in the classroom.
The hell?
We're separating, dealing with on different bases, trying to keep certain kids separated, trying to keep kids outside. Oh yeah, I forgot another terrible thing that happened. So remember when Mr. D was having all of the kids with their heads down at the beginning of class, not doing anything?
Vaguely.
There was one child.
I think the audience does more than I do.
There was one child
honestly.
that was sent outside because he would not listen. He spent 35 freaking minutes hitting the windows and the doors saying, let me in, let me in. Why won't let me in? Come on, let me in. For 35 minutes.
Wait.
No one was coming around to deal with the child.
I don't understand what. So you guys didn't let him in?
No, because he was being a problem. So we had him sit
So you just
out.
left him on the hall?
It's outside. It was like by the playground or whatever. This is typically sometimes what you'll have to do is you have to separate a kid. Like,
Ooh.
you know he's out there. And
Okay.
you'll check out on him periodically.
Well, I mean, I don't think you need to check on him if he's hitting for 35 minutes.
Well, yeah, you know where he is.
Well,
so
yeah.
sometimes you'll have to like separate kids and put them outside and say like, hey, you need to take a break. You need to go sit outside for a couple minutes, collect your thoughts, think about why you're being outside. Not like punishment, but just
solitary confinement.
yeah,
for the
solitary
child.
confinement. So during this whole time,
joking.
he's banging on the wall. It may as well be.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, back to the present time. So we've had to deal with this. This kid has been escorted. That was Chuck, by the way. If you remember Chuck was the kid that was banging on the window for 35 fucking minutes.
Yeah.
And I just have to sit there not reacting for 35 minutes. But now the vice principal has come and we're dealing with the second child, Jose,
What do I do here?
who will not
What do I do there?
who will not listen to basic directions and is constantly talking back. And this kid has already been suspended once, but it doesn't seem to matter. And so
you just can't do anything with this child?
no, there's nothing because the principal's had to leave because now we have the vice principal. Now the vice principal is dealing with 3 other kids that are a problem, 2 of whom are not listening, one whose uncle
I
is
can
on the way,
jump.
one who's talking back.
Or I can grab.
And now the vice principal is going off to deal with something else. She says, hey, if you need anything, walkie me and I'll come back. And I go, okay, because it seems like maybe things are under control. Maybe things are fine. Maybe there's been enough kids that have been escorted out of the class that this will be okay. Now, mind you, I've been continually passing out work, and there's been about 5 or 6 kids that have been doing their work diligently and just ignoring everything.
Well, because you're not
around.
going to have an entire hell class. God doesn't hate
think.
you that much.
God doesn't hate me that much. There was a selection of girls and boys that were just doing their work. There's about 6 or 7 of them that were just diligently doing their work, and I was passing out a bunch of assignments.
They're like, why can't I just get a fucking education already?
Pretty much, and I apologize to those children. Like, I'm so sorry.
So I don't need a wall grab after
Nah.
that. Hold on, my hand's hurting. I'm
Take a
flipping
break.
it around for a second.
So the vice principal leaves thinking, okay, there's other things to deal with. I'm gonna deal with these children, call their parents, do all this stuff.
Why did I dash?
And I go, okay,
was dumb.
cool, fine. Now, the one kids that were talking back, they wouldn't leave, and we're still waiting on their parents to arrive. And the
Yeah.
person's said,
The ones that can.
said, yeah,
And
said,
aren't in a different city or whatever.
yeah, said uncle to arrive because the uncle is still on his way. Now, at this point, one child
Is it
told-
Uncle Scrooge?
And the uncle was actually very nice. He completely sided through. He's like, no, my kid's being this kid's being a shitter.
My sister or brother's kid is an ass.
Is an
and needs to
ass.
get his ass beat. That's why they sent me. I'm Uncle Ass Beats. We will see you guys next time. Tomorrow. Beep, bop, boo.
So we're waiting on that. And at this point, one kid's already bruised his head. There was kids running around with scissors. You know, hell is broken loose.
Oh no, I needed to go
once
straight
again.
up.
Now, some of the kids are at their desks, and one of them pulls out a drawing. It's a printout of a Fortnite character.